Hey Scorpio, welcome to your tarot session. Thank you so much for joining me today. Scorpio, I was recording another session for another zodiac sign and it felt like you were peeking in the reading. I knew I had to stop, ground myself, and show up for you guys immediately. I love when this happens because I'm not someone who follows a schedule. I never do any type of editing or montage to the reading. If you know, you know. If you've listened to my readings before, it's always one channel message, no editing. And there's something here for you that's very important. And my guides are very clear that I shouldn't stop the reading, even if there's some type of imperfection in the way that I talk, certain words that are missing. It felt quite intense, but it's a good thing. That's what I'm getting. It's like, yeah, it's supposed to be intense. So listen, let's just dive right in because I'm curious. I'm a Scorpio rising myself. So this is very interesting to me. What do we have here? Look at that, the Chariot. Okay, the Chariot card is connected to the moon. So every time I pick this card, I feel like I have to show myself a little bit more compassion for how intense my feelings are. This card can show up in your own readings when you're going through a lot of mood swings. There's a little bit of inconsistency in your feelings because think about it. The moon changes sign every 2.5 days. So the Chariot really shines a light on the things that are changing for us. It's an energetical graduation. What are the things that you have outgrown? What is this Chariot that just isn't bringing you anywhere? That's very important. This card is not called the Charioteer. It's the Chariot. It's this container, this vessel. It's not going to bring you any further. So can you identify something right now emotionally that you have outgrown? And again, this message of intensity, and I'm going to give myself the time to digest what I felt before the session. I know it's going to be coming up in some ways, but I'm hearing the word shame. I'm hearing it, I'm seeing it, I'm feeling that energy. There's shame around your own intensity. So the things that you're trying to push away, those sensations, like this very powerful wave, which you are, you are fixed water, Scorpio. I also want to hold space for Scorpio rising and Scorpio moons that are listening. This is also your message. When you think about fixed water, it's like there's not much space for movement. There's not much moving in fixed water. It's like, what is contained there? And there's something that's building up and building up for years and years. And there's shame contained there. Shame because of how intense you are, how much you love, how much you care. And I think that you've outgrown this limit, this fear in some way. Why am I so scared of my own intensity? Look, listen, if you know, you know. I'm sure that a lot of you who understand, the cards are going to be like, yeah, this makes sense. This is why Kim showed up for us today, very unexpectedly. So what if you stop fearing your intensity and you honored it, you followed it instead? And the Sun card is so much about that. Because you always see a child on that card. And of course, the Sun is very powerful. It's connected to Leo. We have the Leo full moon happening later this week as I'm recording the session. It's very close. Very powerful full moon. It's a time to release all of the fragments of identity that were created because of other people, like their judgment, how they perceived us. 'Cause that's the thing about identity. It's built over our experiences. I think that, and this is a term that I don't like, but this is what is coming up: reinventing yourself. I've always struggled with that saying, reinventing yourself, because it gives me the sense that I'm not good enough as I am, which is not the truth. But there's a part of you, again, we're talking about a layer, a phase. It's coming to fullness, and you're ready to let it go and to transform part of yourself that were tamed. Again, this intensity that is so powerful, that is so specific to you. You're not a fire sign, but there is so much, in my opinion, like fire energy connected to Scorpio. Maybe because of Mars. I don't know. There's just something here. You're stepping into the sun as you are honoring the part of you that is very intense. And I think that you've been programmed, maybe not all of you, but some of you have been programmed to just, tone it down. Don't show that you're so in love, that you're so excited about this. For others, because, the message are for everyone, really. Not everyone is going to relate to this exact situation, but for you, it could be that you wish that you would feel more deeply. It's not because you're a Scorpio that you're all exactly the same, but there is something here about your inner fire, your inner light, which again, I want to call intensity. What would happen if you followed it instead of fearing it? This is what's happening. This is the next step. Yeah, Ace of Swords. This is a new beginning, completely, a new perspective. I am that way. Truly, if I shed all the layers of identity that were created because of others' perspective, because of others' people's opinion and judgment, now I'm showing up as the little kiddo here on the Sun card. This brand new energy, the possibility to reinvent part of yourself, to take control of the narrative. The aces in the tarot, they roll out the red carpet for the rest of the suit. So here, yes, there's a new beginning, and there's something that's opening up, like this new path. Communicating, being seen, being understood, being accepted. It could be with a group of people, but I think that it really starts with yourself. Meeting your match also could definitely be a thing. Meeting someone that loves how intense you are. All those rules that we create in relationships. Don't text too much. Don't text too early. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do this on the first date. Don't do that on the third date. Can we just be? Can we just give ourselves the opportunity to explore and to be ourselves fully and authentically? I think this is the beginning of that. And for a lot of you, yeah, you could be quote unquote meeting your match. I love this. I love this, Scorpio. Yeah, Six of Swords. Six of Swords. So connected to the Lover's card in a way. Lover's card is number 6. It's also air energy. So here we are moving on to calmer waters, of course. We are bringing with us all the lessons that we have learned. But notice how the boat is not weighted down by the heaviness of the swords. So again, what part of your identity are you ready to let go of? Because it was never your truth. It was never reality. It was another person's perspective and critiques and judgment. You're bringing that with you. And I think you're bringing the lessons with you to identify in the future what isn't real. It gets so confusing when we hear the same type of critique time and time and time and time again. And I know you're not the only sign in the zodiac who deals with that. Like, trust me, I can think of so many people who really started believing at one point in their lives like they were that way because this is what they were told. And I think that, again, this fixed water of Scorpio, you can accumulate so much. It's all contained in this fixed water. And eventually you need to do a massive clearing. You transform completely. You transform internally, externally, every way possible. And I think that this is definitely you in the midst of a very deep transformation. I know it sounds cliche for Scorpios. I don't care. This is a full-on transformation. We have the moon, the sun, and everything in between that's transforming. Queen of Swords is here. You are holding your sword, your true identity, the truest, most honest version of yourself. And the Queen of Swords is a survivor. She had to learn the hard way, especially when it comes to boundaries. People not respecting, honoring her limits. And at one point, she had to use the sword of her logic or intelligence to cut through all the lies and all the illusions and the old beliefs. And she survived so much, so much. And as a Scorpio, I'm sure that sometimes you're like, I feel like I lived 10 lives. Like, so many Scorpios have a story to tell, have so many parts of their stories and identity that are so important to share. There's so much about you that you probably feel called to communicate and to share with the world. And it's going to happen when it's right. The thing with Scorpio is that we're very secretive. We love to keep some privacy. But when we trust, when there's that trust, when there's the honoring of, each other's boundaries, we can really share, get comfortable, and open up. I have my, most raw conversation with Scorpios. But I know that I'm very lucky to kind of have a peek into the secret garden. So, Queen of Swords and all queens in the tarot are about nurturing. This is not going to be an easy journey for you because the old stories are going to come up. Again, think about the moon, the waves, the cycles. Sometimes we're feeling confronted or challenged again by old lessons, old stories. And we're like, why? Why am I still thinking about that? Because everything is cyclical. Everything comes and goes. It is not true that you can heal something and never think about that thing again, never, the body holds the count. The body remembers. And here there's the call to nurture the mind. What helps you mentally stay clear? Is there any type of toxic habit that you've outgrown? Are you able to identify that? Nothing is pressuring you into quitting something, ending something. It has to be your own decision. You are in control of your life. But to be able to identify the things that are holding us back, the things that are making us kind of live our life backwards, just identifying those things, again, using the swords of our logic and our intelligence, like the Queen of Swords, to say, okay, that thing is unhealthy for me. I know it's not helping my mind, my mental health, my nervous system. Okay, now I've identified this thing. The wheel starts to turn. Just by identifying what's been challenging. And please remember, Scorpio, what is challenging for you is not what's wrong with you. It's so important. It's something that I personally have to repeat myself all the time, every freaking day of my life. What's challenging for me is not what's wrong with me. So when we identify it, the wheel starts to turn. The wheel is so magical. It's the most magical, most esoteric card in the whole tarot. And it really is about finding our center. It's an important symbol in this card, and it's all fixed signs. You are included in that. How can we find our center, come back home to ourselves, ground the energy, be as present as we can with what is? I think it's a practice, that Queen of Swords, again, they practice, they nurture. It's the consistency. It's constantly coming back into presence when our mind is activated. And the Wheel of Fortune, when when it shows up in a reading, it's most of the time, because of the fixed energies, it's something that you've been struggling with for a very long time. From experience with that card, it's something that, I've been struggling with for almost a decade. 10 is a very important number, and it's a number of ending and shedding. Again, the cards are going to keep saying that. You're complete with something. You know it, you understand it, but when we nurture our mind, when we are practicing self-acceptance, self-love, radical self-acceptance with the Queen of Swords, it doesn't mean that we need to, again, quit everything, do everything perfectly, to quantify, to obsess with perfection. We don't want to do that. We are aware of our own issues with perfectionism. We are aware of how hard it's going to be to change our ways, to change certain habits. But we have the intelligence to identify it, to get curious around it, to ask more questions. And when I say there's something, a toxic habit, and I'm French, maybe it's not like the best way I could put it. If I would say it in French, I would say like une mauvaise habitude, like a bad habit, something that you probably used as a blanket in some way, something that you use to maybe calm the nervous system. I'm hearing less is more. I don't think it's about fully quitting. I think it's about finding more balance and understanding that the wheel is already turning in your favor. The wheel is already pushing you in the right direction. And look who showed up to the party, my friend, the Tower. I'm not surprised. With everything that I felt, and again, this message that I shared earlier, that to me, there's so much fire to Scorpio, and I don't know why. Maybe because I connect you a lot with the Queen of Wands in the Tarot, and Queen of Wands is water and fire. I think, she's the witch of the tarot. I think about the cauldron. Something is boiling. That's how I perceive you. And the Tower makes so much sense. I think that you had to get to a point where it was like a divine intervention. You knew exactly what to do. You knew the answers, but I think you hated the answer. And that's okay. So the universe is getting in the way. Wheel of Fortune and the Tower next to each other is no joke. Something's going to naturally be cleared out of your life. And, there's so much misunderstanding with the Tower. I understand why people are scared of this card. Like, it's kind of triggering, like this imagery. But never forget that this is an internal process. It's the universe wanting to move things for you. There's the crown here. You can see that what's happening is internal. There's the fire here. It's happening internally. Again, a breakthrough, a divine intervention of some sorts. You get to a point where There's no turning back. There's no turning back. You do your part, and the universe is clearing out everything that's non-essential. A lot of what has been toxic for you. And again, this message of intensity, like, what if you stop fearing your intensity and followed it instead? Scorpio, this feels like you are following the tower movement in some way. It sounds so weird, but it wanted to come out that way. And the Knight of Wands is here to kind of confirm what I said. Because I said it, and then my nervous system, my mind, my ego was like, what? How is Scorpio following the tower? Well, the Knight of Wands is here. This is someone who is moving with intensity, someone who is unapologetic about how flamboyant, how intense they are, just the way that the Knight of Wands is dressed. It's like, this is me, I don't care. The ones who get it, get it. So when you look at the wands in the tarot, it's always about movement. And the question is, what is the quality of that movement? So here we're not talking about how fast you can move. We're talking about, are you moving authentically? The things that you do, everything about you and how others perceive you. Is it real? Or was it built from something that doesn't feel authentic anymore? Because when I go back to the Chariot, I'm like, okay, again, there's an energetical graduation. You have shed a layer of you. It doesn't fit. So the Knight of Wands is like, follow me. I'm pointing you in the right direction. And the right direction is the sun, your intensity, your inner fire, your truth, the truest version of yourself. This is what's waiting. And it doesn't mean, of course, I'm not saying that you're faking it in any way, that you're not already the most authentic version of yourself. I just feel like there were some clear blocks. Many swords were blocking the way. And now those swords are becoming tools. You have learned to master those, how to use those tools. All the information you gathered for years and years, reading books, practicing whatever it is that you're practicing. Two of Swords is here. You know what to do. You know enough. You know exactly what to do. Again, I've said it earlier, but it's like, I've known the truth for a very long time. I've known the answer for a very long time. I just didn't like the answer. And we have the Page of Cups and the Two of Swords, and underneath it all we have the Devil card, which is my reminder. Again, I ask you to identify the chains of old beliefs earlier. Devil spelled backwards is lived. How are you living your life backwards? I'm going to put the Devil card right here. Page of Cups, Two of Swords. Again, we have the moon showing up, the moon, the sun, which is something that I personally want to get curious about in my own studies of the tarot. I will keep the comments open for you today, because if there's any type of messages that you have for me or to share with the world about so much sun and moon in readings, I used to have like a very fixed interpretation of that, and now it's changing. It really wants to evolve, and I want to collaborate with you. This is a conversation we're having today, so I'm going to open, I'm going to let my boundary down and open the comments today. So the Page of Cups is the initiation of something, like new feelings. And the way I'm sensing it for you here is like you're starting to feel more confident, starting to be more unapologetic about your own magic. the Page of Cups to me is so interesting because it feels like, he's talking to a fish. And we all have a Page of Cups inside us. It is our inner kiddo, our inner child. It reminds me of when I, see a dog on the street and I'm just getting on my knees and starting to talk like a crazy person. And I'm like, I just go crazy talking to animals. It's this, like, I don't care what it looks like. I want to feel into things. I want to hug trees. I want to walk barefoot outside. I want to talk to animals. I want to look at the stars, talk to the moon. All of those things that personally, in my early 20s, I was so ashamed of that part of myself. I was really ashamed of my magic. I think I was, I was shamed in this life and in previous lifetimes, for my magic. So it's a wound that I have. I think that we collectively practically all have a witch wound. But there's something here that you're reclaiming around your own magic, around this brilliant part of you that just, it wants to be explored. It wants to go through a rebirth. It is going through a rebirth right now. And the Two of Swords, a lot of the times is a card of boundaries and mastery also. It takes so much strength mentally and physically to be able to hold those swords like that in that way. The message that's coming up for you here is not everyone deserves a peek into your secret garden. Not everyone deserves your magic, your intuitive abilities. I feel like sometimes there could be this pressure when we are unlocking something because it really seems like you are. You could be connecting with spirit in more powerful ways. You could be noticing that you have different types of powers and abilities, hearing things, seeing things. I'm even sensing that there's, like smelling something and being transported into another person's memory. I think your psychic abilities are just gonna completely expand in a very magical way. And in this moment, I really want to say not everyone deserves access to your magic. Take this how it resonates for you, but I feel like there could be important practices around your boundaries and the spiritual work that you do. If you, kind of do some, if you have a practice, a magical practice, a spiritual practice, however it is, I think that to protect yourself could be very important here. Whatever you're about to step into, again, I feel like you're stepping into the sun. There's still the power of the moon. It's like pulling you in. Again, there's a lot of push and pull. Like you're stepping into the sun, but the constant changing rhythms of the moon are still affecting you. How can you ground the energy? There's no earth here. There's a little bit of earth in the Devil card in the Wheel of Fortune, but there's so much intensity. And again, you're invited to follow your intensity instead of fearing it. But how can you ground that fire? What are the practices that can help you stay grounded, stay present? Again, finding your center. And to cultivate that practice and to stay there. Because that unlocks something truly magical for you. And I'm not afraid to say life-changing. I know not everyone is comfortable, to hear things like, this is life-changing. And I'm the type of person who learns something about myself and the world every day. And I change. I experience life-changing, magical things all the time. But it's more about my own perception of magic in the world. And I think that Scorpios connect with that message. A lot of Scorpios, not everyone, of course. I'm not including everyone, but if part of this message resonates for you, I know that you're going to be able to use your own intuition and make it your own. Something big is waiting for you. This could be a life-changing year. It will be. How are you going to ground this energy? How are you going to ground this energy? Look at that. Oh, my friend, cast a circle. Healthy boundaries are crucial for growth. Are you serious? I love, love, love this Oracle deck. It feels like it's always sending an extra confirmation for me. I'm going to read the booklet because it's a fabulous booklet. Okay. Kindness towards others starts with kindness towards yourself. Compassion for others begins with self-compassion. Setting healthy boundaries is a crucial step in any self-care practice. Having healthy boundaries not only helps you take better care of yourself, but it also allows you to be more reliable for others. Clear boundaries help you to tune into your real desires, feelings, goals, and needs. Boundaries are not just a sign of a healthy relationship with the world around you, but they are a sign of self-respect and self-love. Do not let your unclear boundaries hold you back from achieving your full potential. Give yourself the permission to set boundaries and work to preserve them. Again, it really is connecting with this sense of earth. There's no pentacles in this reading. So I know what's missing, and I love that about the tarot. So again, give yourself the permission to set boundaries and work to preserve them. Trust your intuition, needs, and feelings. They are just as important as those of others. Do not be afraid to say yes or no to something or someone. Let go of the guilt. It is not serving anyone. Growth can be painful, but it is always necessary. And, there's this quote here that I say all the time. Walls keep everybody out. Boundaries teach people where the door is. I've said this probably a million times in all readings, but this is something that I practice all the time. I really try to identify in my life, like, is this a boundary or is this a wall? And every time I take the time to meditate on that and to get curious around it, it helps, it improves my relationships because, that's what life is about. Let's get curious. It's not always good or bad. It's not always light or dark. It is the nuance. The day you stop asking questions, the day you stop getting curious, there's nothing. I think that we need to get more curious and ask more questions, especially when we are invited to cultivate something in that way, to work on something and maintain it. Consistency, intention, presence. So listen, I'm glad I honored the call. I know that even if it's just one person that connected to this message today, it's weird. I feel connected to you in some way. Very weird, but again, magical energy. Thank you so much, Scorpio. I'll talk to you guys next week. I hope you say hi in the comments.